And hey guys, it's Caden. Welcome to another Autism Digest interview, where today we have a very special episode. As you saw, she is the host of In Conversation with ATF. She's Humble Spectrum, and she's been able to have such guests as Loren Hoskins, Michael C. Gough, who we're going to have in November, Vincent Kirkhope, who we're also going to have in November, Dred Foxx, and pretty much a plethora of voice actors and those involved in the industry. She is Miss Amber Jones. Thanks for coming on, Amber.
You're welcome, Caden. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Now, for those that don't know the name Amber Jones, do you mind starting us off by summarizing your story in your own words?
Well, sure. I became a content creator in 2014. I started just doing my own thing, just randomly, just doing these random tidbit videos. And then it wasn't until sort of 2016, 2017, I started filming these coin-operated rides that you see in malls and stuff like that. And that ended up snowballing into a huge hyperfixation with cartoons, and it was in 2019 I was asked to do my first ever voiceover job, which was for a company who I was really close to. I knew a lot of the staff there. I did that, and then during the COVID lockdown, I produced my own documentary on a voice actor named Bill Scott. You may know him as Bullwinkle Moose, Dudley Do-Right, Mr. Peabody, the original Gruffy Gummy and Gummy Bears. And I spoke to a lot of people for that. There were a lot of voice actors who I managed to connect with, including Frank Welker, Corey Burton, Weird Al Yankovic, Billy West. It's a lot of these wonderful, wonderful people. And since 2021, I have run my own podcast, which is In Conversation with ATF. I believe it's at about 200 episodes, and I interview voice actors, writers, voice directors, artists, singers, everything like that. And so far, I just keep building more connections every time I go out to LA every year, Los Angeles. It's a delight to see people, not just old friends, but new friends as well. So I get to meet people like, I think I met Maurice LaMarche and Jeff Bennett on my last trip. In the past, I've met people like Deborah Wilson. I've met people like, of course, Frank Welker, who, as I mentioned before, Peter Cullen, Charlie Adler right there, and Greg Berger at the top there, and just a lot of people, really. It's just so lovely to make these connections all over the industry, and I'm a voice actress myself. I've done interactive products, I've done indie projects, and I'm slowly sort of making my way into commercial and animation. I'm with a voiceover agency in the States. Nothing much has happened yet, but we'll get there.
Amen to that. I really like what you said about making connections. That's honestly my favorite part about what I do as well. Through this, I've been able to meet a lot of different people, including some of the voice actors I mentioned. And it's honestly the joy of podcasting and hosting a show like this. You never know who's going to be involved with the autism community at one hand, at two. It's just a really surreal experience. So I definitely like what you said. My next question for you is, how do you think autism helps you when you run your podcast or voice act?
Well, it helps me essentially because of the love I have for voiceover. Like, it's a hyperfixation I have with like cartoons as well as voice actors, and it helps like, it's like a burning passion inside me to do voiceover, and it just helps me keep focused and go into that goal and stuff like that. And it's also growing up, because I have like high functioning autism, what they used to call Asperger's syndrome, which they don't call it that now, which just all falls under the autism umbrella. I used to, I was like any other kid. I could talk and stuff, but I was absolutely terrible at socializing with people. I could not make eye contact. I could not, hold conversations with people. I would repeat a lot of things, echolalia. So growing up, I struggled with that throughout my early school years and stuff like that. And then I was bullied in high school. I dropped out, moved schools, went to college. I studied performing arts because my autism was like, look, you want to be a voice actress, right? Okay, well, study, and then you can leave with all your qualifications and then finally get into that voiceover agency you've been dreaming of. But, just meeting, as I said before, meeting all these people, it's helped to improve my social skills, because 10 years ago, I would not have been able to make eye contact at anyone who was not immediate family. Now I just look at them directly in the eyes and I talk to them and I can hold actual conversations with them. And I just think to myself, this wasn't what I was like years ago. It feels like there's a completely different person who's come out since I've started getting into podcasting and voiceover. It's quite magical, really.
I absolutely agree. I'm the exact same way. I still have some trouble with social perceptiveness and social skills, as a lot of society does, neurodivergent or not. That's just the way the real world works. But more do things like going to college and doing online classes, doing stuff like this, doing another thing I host for another company called Press X to Play Games. I've found that my self-confidence and my social skills have improved significantly, and that, in a way, translates into real-world interactions. So I definitely like what you said about it being magical. My next question for you is, out of all the guests you had so far, who are your top 3 and why?
Ooh, right. Well, I know who my top one is. That's easily Charlie Adler, one of the funniest people I have ever spoken to, and I have been in his workshops. He's just so lovely. As I met Rob Paulson a few weeks ago, and he was like, the best way to describe Charlie is he's a massive teddy bear with a vulgar mouth because he swears quite a bit. But yeah, Charlie was absolutely amazing. You know, he's been really supportive to me, and man, what a guy. Second and third, I have absolutely no idea, but I guess maybe if I had a list of all the people who I'd done my show with in front of me, it would probably be easier. But off the top of my head, I don't really have another 2. I guess Greg Berger would be one of them, essentially because he's one of my favorite people in real life. David Kay. So I think those would probably be my top 3 at this moment. If I have, well, I mean, it probably will be my top 3 because those are my top 3 favorite people. Oh, by the way, you're doing great as well. I meant to say you're doing really great.
Thank you. Yeah. I definitely appreciate that. Those are some really good choices. I definitely remember watching a lot of their content that they hope to produce. And I agree, they're extremely talented. My next question for you is, how do you think the voice acting industry or Hollywood as a whole can help neurodivergent stories be spotlight in their platforms and productions without it be coming across as a cash grab? I've talked to a lot of different voice actors and people in the industry, and they each gave their own different answer. But as an autistic voice actress yourself, what's your perception on how we can spotlight neurodivergent stories in the media without it coming across as a cash grab?
Well, in my eyes, people when there's autistic characters in animation, usually behind their creation is an autistic person, an autistic writer, a director, anything like that. I just did voice work for Danny Bowman from Love on the Spectrum, who is an animator. I did one of her student short films, which was screened at San Diego Comic-Con, and I believe the other 3 people in the film, the other 2 voice actresses in the film are autistic. I know Danny is. I know Peyton, who is the animator, they are also autistic. I just think it's more genuine if it's an autistic person behind their creation. I wouldn't really say it's a cash grab or something like that. I think sort of nowadays we're getting more autistic representation in media. Like back when I was growing up and stuff like that as a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old, there were barely any autistic characters on TV shows or in animation or anything like that. And it makes me think they've all just started coming out now. Where were they all these years ago in the 2000s and stuff like that? It's not really, I wouldn't say it wasn't well represented. I guess there just wasn't a lot of autistic creators in the media. I mean, autistic voice actors for sure. You've got people like Callum Gough, Billy West, Corey Burton. I believe Tom Kenny's autistic as well. I've been told that by someone. But, you know, just all these wonderful people. But one thing is they don't really talk about their autism unless someone actually asks them. Like, I don't think I've seen Billy West publicly talk about it until I actually spoke to him. So I think, as a whole, the business has changed, and these autistic representations do seem genuine. If it was a cash grab, I just think it would just be a lousy attempt, and you could definitely tell, oh yeah, this autistic character was not created by an autistic person, it was created by a neurotypical person. So I think it does help if there is an autistic team behind the creation, and if they put like their everyday things into the character, like they take inspiration. For example, if one of the creators doesn't like loud noises, or doesn't like flashing lights, or only eats tacos and fries like every day for dinner, and they put that into the character, it's like they see a piece of themselves and they have free creative control over it.
That's a really great answer to that, and I absolutely agree. It's not necessarily the content specifically, because honestly, today's modern representation of autism in the media is really amazing. And I've heard of Danny Bowman. I haven't watched any of her animes since, but I've heard of her companies, and she seems extremely talented.
She's really lovely.
It's more so who's involved. If we can get more neurodivergent voices or creators or writers involved in a series, then half of the problems that Hollywood is experiencing right now would probably go away. So I definitely like that answer. My next question for you is, what's your advice to anyone, neurodivergent or not, that wants to make it in the world of podcasting and voice acting?
Well, for podcasting, I would say practice interviewing people. I had never really interviewed anyone until I started working on my documentary. I had my questions prepared. I knew the subject that I was going to talk about. I was a little bit sketchy at first, because I remember the first person I interviewed, I kept delaying them. I was like, I'm nervous and stuff. And they were like, really? You're wasting my time. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, I'll just do it. And then I was completely fine. And then the second one was with Corey Burton, and we spoke for like 6 hours. And I was like, okay, I think I'm getting a hang of this now. So I went through each interview and I had my questions ready. And I just pretended I was talking to someone face to face, because this was over Zoom, obviously during COVID and stuff like that. And then when it got to my podcast, I thought, look, I love all of these voice actors. I don't want to just keep talking to them about Bill Scott. Like, I'm going to interview them, but it's for Bill Scott. I want to talk to them about everything that they've done, and just have a relaxed talk with them, maybe commentate on a few pieces of material that they've done in voiceover and stuff like that. So I started reaching out to people who, of course, I had worked with or had initially contacted for the documentary. So Neil Ross, Michael Bell, Bob Bergen, Brian Cummings, a lot of these people. And then through some of them, I've managed to get more people who I haven't done stuff with yet, or have done. So I got Kari Walgren through Julie Nathanson, or vice versa. I can't remember which. I've managed to get, I've not spoken to her for a podcast because she doesn't do a lot of them, but Andrea Romano, I've managed to get a few people through her. I can reveal that I am working on something with Jeff Bennett, who is someone who I've wanted to talk to for a very long time. So it's really just start building connections with people, and then reach out and be genuine, be humble. Don't act like, oh, you're just doing it for the fame and stuff like that. You're doing it because you are interested in this person. You want to know more about specific life events. So like, what was it like working with such and such? Do you have any advice on someone like me who is going into the business but lives in a place that is not the US, UK, which I find it's really hard to get into voiceover here. So yeah, just build connections, practice interviewing people, and make sure you have a good structure of what you're doing and how it's designed. For voiceover, there are a lot of people you can talk to. You can obviously take classes, acting classes at school, college, university, because you're essentially acting. It's not just, oh, I do funny voices. Do you want to hear my impression of Homer Simpson? Yeah, I can do an impression of him. Can you sign me up? It's acting. It's really just on-camera acting, but just your voice. You've got to actually act. It's not just about putting on funny voices. A lot of people do classes. I've taken Charlie Adler's workshop. I've been in Steve Bloom's workshop. I've studied with Tara Strong. I've studied with a lot of people. A lot of people have been huge mentors to me. Even I don't take. She doesn't do classes. Andrea Romano, she's been a big help to me. She's been. She wants to record a little voiceover demo with me when I'm next in town, and just all these people just rallying to help this random girl from the UK to be in the voiceover business when not really a lot of people over here. They can't really help you. It's magical, really. D. Bradley Baker has a website called iwanttobeavoiceactor.com. That's all one word, and he tells you how to do booth setup, how to scout auditions, NDAs, casting, everything like that. And there's an online forum where you can submit him a question about voiceover, and he will get back to you within about a week or two. And it's just one of the most helpful things. And I always direct people to that when someone asks, how did you get started and stuff like that? Not only just, do classes and stuff like that, but look at D. Bradley Baker's website, because that is one of the best places to learn from. That gave me a lot of advice, and I have followed that since the beginning of my voiceover journey, and it has been so beneficial to me. So yeah, take classes, study at school, acting, obviously take voice acting classes from the professionals, look at D. Bradley Baker's website, and just have fun. Have fun, practice in your car, practice in your bedroom. And then once you've sort of rallied up the funds to get demos and stuff like that, then you can start reaching out to agents when you are ready. In the UK, it's a lot different here because a lot of people want on-camera people as well, which isn't really my thing, because I'm always dyeing my hair. So I'm pure voiceover at this time, even though I did a bit of theatre a few years ago. But yeah, it's as I said, it's just you got to put all the work into it, and you've got to make sure that you're absolutely sure that you want to do this and you want to follow this career for potentially the rest of your life. So yeah, it's a big decision you want to make, but there is a lot of research and a lot of grinding, but it's worth it.
I absolutely agree.
Sorry for the long-winded answer.
No. Oh, it's totally right. It was a really good one. I especially liked the part you said about building connections and building an outwork. A bit of a story for you. When I first started this, I was definitely a bit nervous, and rightfully so. These are people I've grown up with in a way, but we to say, Martin Kerr, Abu Rad, he's a lot of the politicians I've had on here. But key for me was learning to get on myself. I've been doing not this kind of stuff specifically, but journalism and communications work since I was 15 years old. I'm 21 now. And it started with email or Instagram DMs and searching for people I thought would be cool to interview for, say, a sports article on their career or what have you. This here was really about building connections, having those potentially lead to something. I'm a senior in college currently. I'm a communications position and hoping that leads to something bigger. So I absolutely agree. Connections are extremely important, not just in the podcasting or voice acting field, but with any industry, really.
Yeah.
The last question for you is, apart from the aforementioned Jeff Bennett episode, what does the future hold for you or your show?
Voiceover wise, I'm trying to find representation in the UK. It's a bit hard because I don't have a commercial reel, but I am slowly, raising funds to make one and stuff like that. For my podcast, there's a good few people, I've reached out to, several agents of different people. I know Keith David's agent was trying to work something out with me. But I met a lot of people at San Diego Comic-Con a few weeks ago who I have probably now a good chance of getting on my show. So these people are like Maurice LaMarche, Michael Scott Action, Abby Trott, Shelby Young. Who else is there? There's a good few people. I did meet Trez McNeil, but I don't think she does a lot of interviews, so I'm not sure if I would ever be able to get her. Same with Corey Burton, but they would be two people who I would love to talk to someday. But I would say in the future, what holds for me is definitely an interview with Maurice LaMarche. I think that's probably the next big one, along with the Jeff Bennett one, unless I reach anyone else before or after that. So I'd say look out for those particular two editions because they are going to happen. And I'm going to try and interview every single Western voice actor if I can. All the big ones who did animation in the 80s, 90s and noughties, it'll be a long time, but, It'll be fun.
Yeah, it definitely sounds fun. Anyways, that's going to do it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much to Amber for coming on and sharing her story. If you guys want to see more amazing interviews with individuals involved in the autism community, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the Autism Digest channel. Check out our August issue that's out now by going to autismdigest.com. And stay tuned for the audio file of this interview to be posted on our Spotify. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you all.